to share something with you. That might put me in a very negative light, yeah.
Relationships are not my forte.
See if someone grabbed up my wife or something, completely different ballgame.
I'll walk away from it, and this has been like a therapy session.
This is Colin McGuigan for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. I'm joined today by Carl Frampton. Carl, big 40th birthday this week. I was probably the only McGuigan to wish you happy birthday, was it?
I'd say so. Yeah, not 40, 36, feel 40, maybe a bit older than 40 actually, but 36. I got very excited by a new coffee machine I got, so I'm right in the middle of the fucking, like, I feel like a middle-aged pleb now, you know what I mean?
Oh my god! And you've got a new baby, Mila. You must
Yeah.
have your hands full at the moment.
Yeah, no, it's good, man. She's the best wee gift going. Like, I mean, she's just brought like a lot of happiness in everyone's life. She's a great kid, and only about three and a half weeks old now, so brand new, but she's a good kid.
It's funny you mentioned you said about a coffee machine and a midlife crisis, and that was something that later on in the interview I was actually going to touch on with you, but I'll do it now because I think it's good. I was speaking to Sugar Ray Leonard 2 weeks ago. I'd done an interview with him, and he talked about how it was so hard for him to leave boxing, and he kept coming back, and he probably done it too much to his own detriment at the end when he had the two back-to-back losses to almost end his career. And looking at the likes of Kell Brook at the moment, who's really struggling mentally and obviously finding it hard being outside of the ring. How are you coping being outside of the ring? Is there days that are tough?
No, not for me. I thought you were just trying to name drop Sugar Ray Leonard there, but
No,
no, it was a genuine question.
genuine question.
No, and I suppose, you know, people are different and individuals are different, and they have different personalities, and I was kind of looking out of it, to be honest. Like, I wanted to get out of the sport at a point, and even if you look back at my interviews when I was in my mid-20s, I'd have always said like 30 is about the age I want to retire. So I went on a bit longer than I probably even wanted to. But I just kept, you know, I was always fighting for legacy and my family and you know, family security and everything like that. But I feel like I've done reasonably well. I'm very, very happy with what I've done in my career. I have the sense of even probably overachieved, so maybe that's why it's not like a big deal for me to pack it in. I know I'm not as good as I used to be anymore. Far from it. I just try to think about it rationally. Like, I wouldn't want to be hanging around and just getting beat up by guys who wouldn't have lived with me a few years previous. So I'm okay. I'm dead on.
Was there never a point though since you left that you watching a build up or watching a fight that you got itchy knuckles going, do you know what, I'd love one more go?
There was one part, one moment, and that was when Kiko Martinez knocked out Kid Galahad, and I actually went. I hadn't been retired a year, I don't think, when that happened. I went for a run the next day, and that just put it out of my head again because my knee was sore. I had problems with my knee kind of towards the end of my career. My groin was sore, and I just thought I could think of nothing worse than a training camp for a fucking fight. You know what I mean? So nah, that was literally for about 12 hours. I thought about it, and that was it.
Moving on to the boxing at the moment. Obviously, your job as a pundit, you watch fights constantly. I'd imagine not just BT fights, but all fights. Would Lara at the weekend? What did you make of that? First of all,
Very good fight. I think that Ben Davison's been getting a bit of criticism, but I said at the time, and I still think that it was the right call. I think that, you know, there was a few seconds, 10 seconds or so left in the round, and he was well ahead in the fight. Wood was, but I mean, I think he was really unsteady, and Lara is so heavy-handed. Like, I mean, he was a punch away from getting his head knocked into row 5. You know what I mean? This guy's so dangerous, and I think what Ben Davison actually done was save him for another day. You know, he didn't get cleaned out completely. He was well ahead in the fight, and the rematch is still appealing to people because of that, rather than him getting, you know, put to sleep. Which may or may not have happened, but I think it was the right call, and I've got a bit more. I've tamed down a bit, like, my view over the number of years, really, over the last few years about that. Like, I imagine if you'd asked me that question 6 or 7 years ago, I'd have said let him stay in. And as a fighter, you want to stay in, but I think it's important to have a compassionate coach as well at times, and Ben made the right call for me.
Going into that weekend before, obviously, the event itself, did you fancy Leeward's chances against Mauricio Lara?
I didn't really know. I was unsure. I think I probably just fancied Lara just because of his punching power. He's such a dangerous puncher, and even watching the fight, like, although Leeward was controlling it, it was almost like you were just waiting on that to happen. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's dangerous. He gives everyone problems and nightmares because he's always in a fight. He could be boxing head up. I give him one round up until the point that he knocked Leeward out. He could be, you know, you've been the last 30 seconds of the fight, a 12-round fight, and this guy still got a chance. He's very, very dangerous.
There's a bit of a triangle there: Leeward, Josh Warrington, Mauricio Lara. Then you've got to throw the Michael Conlan Lopez into the mix, even, because it looks to be next. Would you like to see Leeward fight Lara again, or do you think his options lie elsewhere?
I don't know, really. It's not for me to decide. I think that probably, but I think it wouldn't do him a word. I don't think it would do him any harm to maybe take a bit of time out, maybe let Warrington and Lara fight in the meantime, as long as he's guaranteed a shot at the winner, get a win under his belt, a bit of confidence back, and then fight the winner of that fight. I think that might be a sensible way to do it, but that's nothing to do with me, really, and I'm sure his team have their own ideas.
In terms of the WBC news that came out yesterday on Conor Benn, what's your thoughts on that? Because it seems to be absolutely crazy that it's now went down to taking eggs. What do you think of the whole situation? It
just seems a bit mad, doesn't it? I don't really want to say too much on it because I don't want to get myself in trouble, and I've said what I've said on a couple of posts there last night, but it's just mad. You know, we kept hearing this stuff. I've got evidence to prove my innocence, and as if when everyone's like, well, what is it? Like, rather than teasing us, just tell us. And then it turns out that it was, you know, he's told the WBC that he eats a lot of eggs, and they said that sounds believable. So that's literally it. I don't know what else to say about that. But I think a question that we all have to ask now is, if anyone in the future feels with the same drug that Conor Benn did, do they get a buy ball by just saying, I eat a lot of eggs these days? I think you have to. You know, if you believe one man for saying it, why do you not believe everyone else if that comes to it in the future? But yeah, I just don't think the WBC have done themselves any favours this week between that and between saying that Tommy Fury and Jake Paul will go into, I think it was originally a top 15 ranking, but now it said top 40. But even that, it's, you know, that Jake Paul, I appreciate what he's doing. He still hasn't fought a boxer yet. And Tommy Fury has fought, you know, journeyman as you do at that stage of his career he's at. There's nothing wrong with that, but to put either of them in the WBC rankings is a bit mad to me.
In terms of that fight, because that was my next one that we would get on to. Obviously, you work with BT. You're obviously not in Saudi this week, probably due to daddy duties, I'd imagine. Yeah. But in terms of that fight itself, how do you think it goes if you're breaking it down?
I see. This is the thing. I think it's a hard fight to call, but if you put a gun to my head, I would say Jake Paul, and I've got the reason why I say that is, like, I don't want to, you know, I don't have an issue with Tommy Fury or anything like that. I'm trying to think about it rationally, and I've watched a few Tommy Fury fights. I've worked on them, and to me, he looks like he's very, very heavy set and muscle bound. and I've seen him in 4-round fights where he looks to be blown a little bit in the 4th round. So my rationale here is, how do you go from blown a little bit? Not, he wasn't completely gassed, but I mean, it's a 4-round fight. Showing any sign of blown in a 4-round fight against guys that aren't competitive with you, because you're meant to beat them up at that stage of your career, that's fine. But going from that to jumping to an 8-rounder in your first competitive fight just seems like a lot to me, you know. And there's got to be so much pressure on the kid as well, like, you know, what his dad has said, the pressure he's put on himself with some of his statements, what Tyson has said as well. And I know probably Tyson's stuff's a bit tongue in cheek, but you know, that's another thing. He's never had to deal with this sort of pressure before. So look, I'm unsure who wins the fight, but again, like I said, gun to my head, I would say Jake Paul on points. But what's really interesting is that I've never seen a draw as low as 12-1 ever. I've never seen a draw under 12-1 in some places. I've never seen a draw under 25-1. It's normally 33, isn't it? So 12-1 for a draw. Maybe that's where you put your money. I don't know.
In terms of this, though, I seen your tweet yesterday, and before Jake Paul replied to it, I was thinking about your tweet, and it's so true. Everyone wants to watch this. Forget about if you like boxing, if you don't like boxing. The people who really like boxing secretly want to watch it too.
Yeah,
because they're not admitting it.
I know, and that's the thing. I am admitting it now. Previously, and I was being honest then when I was saying it's, you know, it's all a joke, this stuff. But I think that yeah, I'm interested in it. I'm going to be honest. Like, I want to watch the fight and see who wins it. I done a tweet about my daughter, like, asked can she watch the fight, and obviously it's a decent time. So going to school on a Monday, it's a Sunday, and she's going to school, but so we're going to let her stay up and watch it. Christine, who was a boxing fan before I met her, and then as she got to know the game and know the politics involved, literally hated it and hated everything about it. She wants to watch the fight. And I said something about grannies in the street talking to me, and one of my mates got in touch with me and kind of laughed about that and saying I'm bullshitting. I'm genuine. Like, I'm not talking about like just approach me in the streets, but people, when I'm walking around Belfast, people know me as the boxer. So I mean, I go into a spar somewhere, a shop, give them spar a plug there, go into a spar, and the wee woman behind the counter's asking me about it. You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. So there's definitely a massive appeal for this fight, and I think because of the time that it's at, and on BT Sport pay-per-view, I think it may do pretty big numbers. Like, people are going to be surprised by the amount of people that want to watch this, and people who have never paid for a pay-per-view before in their lives, probably.
There's another one of these kind of influencer shows on this weekend on Saturday night where Floyd Mayweather makes his UK debut against Aaron from Geordie Shore. What do you make of that? Because that's kind of like on the flip. It is the same type of thing, but it is an exhibition at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, that's all it is. It's an exhibition. I don't see an issue with Floyd Mayweather doing that. It gives people a chance to, you know, he's traveling around the world doing these exhibitions with well-known people from the country that he's fighting in, and it gives people the chance, although it's an exhibition, to see a great with their own eyes, where otherwise they may not have been able to do that. So that's what it is. You know what I mean? It's nothing else. It's an exhibition fight, and you know, each their own, really. Moving
on to another big BT show, Joyce sang in April. We've seen Michaela Mayer added to the card. That's a massive event in itself for Joe Joyce. How do you think that one goes? Because Zhang's no pushover.
No, Zhang isn't. There's no pushover. He's a tough fighter, big man, maybe bigger than Joe. I'm not sure, but is he a little bit bigger? Yeah,
I think he is a wee bit bigger.
Which he hasn't had to face too often, but I think it's going to be a great fight because they're similar sort of styles, like, and they fight the same. They take a wee bit of punishment to try and land their own, but I just think it's going to be hard for anybody to defeat Joe Joyce. But I want to give Joe a lot of credit. He could have picked an easier fight while he's waiting. Obviously, he's waiting on the result of Fury and Usyk if that ever comes off, and maybe an AJ fight and fight the AJ or a Wilder. He's looking at them sort of big names, but in the meantime, while I can't be made, he's fighting good opposition. He's done it with Parker as well. I think you have to give Big Joe a lot of credit for that.
Who would you like to see him face next? Because you've mentioned maybe the winner of Fury Usyk, maybe the winner of Joshua Franklin. Do you think that Joyce genuinely has a chance of beating the likes of Fury or Usyk, or would you like to see him maybe in there with AJ next?
Oh, he's a chance of beating them all. I really believe that. He's probably, I don't have him as a favorite in a Fury fight, but he could beat the rest of them. I'm including Usyk in that, and we look at how he fought Usyk in the Super Series, and it was over 5 rounds, and Usyk won the fight, but Joe was coming on strong in the 4th and 5th round, and that's his game. Like, it would be, I imagine if he fought someone like Usyk, it would be like a fight of 2 halves where Usyk controls the first, and then Joe starts to come on with his strength and his size. But he has a chance against them all. He's just, I've seen him eat humongous shots. I haven't seen him affected by one yet. So that's got to be disheartening for someone who's landing what they think is it's a shot that would maybe feel like on your hand that it knocks other people out, but Joe just shakes it off and hits you with a jab straight after it.
What do you make of AJ Franklin next? Obviously, AJ's kind of reinvented himself now, so to speak, because he's over in America. He's doing things differently. Do you think that's a good move for AJ?
I think it is a good move. I think it probably should have came sooner to get out to the States. And although he's a global name, in the UK though, I don't imagine AJ can go anywhere without getting hounded. But if he's out in Texas now training, I imagine he can live a pretty regular life. I think that's important, keeping just being occupied by boxing and not having other things take over your time. And that was one of the reasons why I went into camp, like just to focus on fights. But it seems like AJ always had other obligations and media stuff to do, which you understand too, because he's a commercial dream for anybody, but that can all impact on preparation for a fight. So I think he's made the right move to go out to the States, and he probably should have done it a number of years ago, if I'm being honest. But no time like the present, and hopefully it works out for him.
Before I let you go, I do want to get your thoughts on one more thing: the Josh Taylor Jack Carroll situation. Obviously, you're close with both guys, so you kind of stay in the middle on that neutral, so to speak. But really, the whole situation, I feel sorry for Jack Carroll personally, because I think he deserved that rematch more than anything, and it looks as if he's not going to get it anytime soon. What do you make of the whole situation?
Again, it's just another bit of a mess. I feel sorry for Jack, but I also have a degree of sympathy for Josh, and it looks like Josh going to fight Lopez now, and the Jack fight's off the table after they talked about it. But I think you got to look to the WBO for that. Like, why have they allowed? I imagine they've been influenced by Top Rank. It's Top Rank have the winner, whoever wins that fight, because of Lopez and Taylor are both with Top Rank. So they'll be happy with that. They may have influenced the WBO a little bit, but I think that's who you really need to be pointing the fingers at. Why have the WBO allowed this to happen? Why have they not just allowed Jack Carroll to have the rematch? And I don't think Josh is running from Jack on. I genuinely don't believe that. I know the type of character he is. He's brave, and he's fight anyone. Look, he's going to fight Teofimo Lopez. It looks like it's not as if he's fighting a mug. But yeah, I have a degree of sympathy for both guys in this whole situation. But Jack, it's gotten for the fella. He should have got his chance for a rematch. I think Josh, even like the rematch for Josh would have, like, it would have just kind of settled things down, and hopefully would have got a fair result, and then that's it. It's dead and buried in the water. And yeah, it's just a bit of a mess. But again, I'd be pointing fingers at the WBO rather than any of the two fighters.
How do you think Josh Taylor gets on against Teofimo Lopez?
I think he beats him. I think that Teofimo Lopez is a good fighter, but I don't think he's looked as good since he's come up to light welterweight, and that's what happens. That's what weight divisions are for, isn't it? And his best weight seemed to be lightweight, and he had that win over Lomachenko, who albeit was, I think he was a little bit injured, but it was still an amazing win. He was undisputed at lightweight, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Lopez, quality fighter, but his performances up at light welterweight haven't been the same as down at lightweight. I think Josh is a big light welterweight, and if he does the weight well, I think his fast hands just allows him to win the fight. And he's not like Josh isn't. He's a decent knockout ratio, but he's not like. I don't think he's that heavy-handed single punch or that strong even. But it's his accuracy and his timing and his speed is what knocks people over, and I think that'll be the key against Lopez.
Well, Carl, thanks a million for your time. Really good to pick your brain on some of those fights, and really appreciate it, mate. We'll catch up again soon. Thanks a million.
Mate. Cheers.
I'm going to share something with you that might put me in a very negative light, yeah.
Relationships are not my forte.
See if someone grabbed up my wife and saying completely different ballgame.
I'll walk away from it, and this has been like a therapy session.